Hey everybody, Kevin Purcell with the Theotek podcast here again on a Tuesday night, and tonight we've got online Bible study. Should you? If you should, where? Why? How good is it? Can you do it? Can you do serious Bible study? We'll actually make some recommendations for you for those who have decided, hey, I'm going to do it whether you should or not, regardless of what we say. But we're glad to be here tonight. We've got three of us here tonight. Rick Mansfield, he is from Accordance Bible Software and back from a whirlwind trip to Chicago last week. That's why he wasn't joining us. Rick, how'd the conferences go?
Well, was very busy. We were at Moody Bible Institute for their Founders Day conference, and we were there in the evenings, and I had a chance to visit Wheaton College, and we did a seminar over at University of Chicago, and then did an all-day seminar at a church on Saturday, and so I'm still catching up on sleep.
Yeah, that sounds like lots of fun. It's been a long time since I've been on the Moody Bible Institute campus or the Wheaton College campus. I spent my 10th birthday on Moody Bible Institute campus because of a car breakdown, and then used to go to basketball tournaments at Wheaton when I was in a Christian school for 3 years. And then we also have Antoine, who's kind of in a bit of a shift in life, and for that reason he's moved into a new apartment, can't get network set up properly, and so you're in a coffee shop, it looks like. Is that right?
He's got Starbucks.
Yeah, and I think he's muted, so he's starting off that way.
No, I muted it just to make it a little bit easier for everybody. But yeah, in the middle of a transition.
Is Starbucks like a sponsor?
They are not. That's why you only see
the unofficial coffee of the Theotek podcast. as Rick takes a drink.
Yeah, but mine's Community with Chicory from Louisiana. So.
Okay, and I'm just going with the cheap Food Lion branded water tonight. All right, well, what about that? Let's throw that out to you guys. Rick, why don't you just start first? Do you think that it's a good idea to do serious sermon preparation, Bible study preparation, scholarly Bible study using nothing but online Bible websites?
Well, and you kind of know where I'm going to follow this, obviously, but I would say that you probably can do a lot of things, and you can do more than you used to could. But I still think that dedicated Bible software is going to allow you to have better resources. You're going to have resources, some of which publishers aren't going to allow to be just out on the internet for free, and for me, and this happens to me regularly. I mean, even sometimes, like in the hotel last week, I don't always have good internet, and so I'm thankful when I have my stuff already downloaded. But it's better than nothing. I see lots of students, a lot of college students at Bible schools and colleges that will use just what they can find online, and I always want to show them what they could do better if they had some dedicated software.
Yeah, what would you say is something that you're probably going to really struggle with the best online Bible study website that you can probably do fairly easily with something like an Accordance or BibleWorks or Logos or WordSearch or something?
Well, again, having a rich library of resources, whether that's commentaries, whether that's reference works that you can just pull up immediately, that you can place in parallel, that that are integrated together. Most of the online sites that I've been on will have one. Some of them will have two panes open that you can put stuff next to, but they have a lot of public domain work, so you're not going to get the most recent stuff. Most of the time you're not going to get an official Nestle Aland 28th edition of the Greek New Testament. You're not going to get even non-language stuff. I mean, you're not going to get the best preaching commentaries and those kinds of things.
Yeah, a lot of it will be things like for language study, you're lucky if you get a Strong's dictionary.
Right.
For commentaries, you might get something printed or published in the last 50 years. Most of the time, it's something like the Kyle and Delitzsch, which is a good commentary, but it's dated a little bit. And
Which one did you say? I kind of
Kyle
lost you
and
for a second.
Delitzsch.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I like them very much.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
it's
can.
a good commentary, but again, it's a little bit dated, and
Yeah.
um,
But as far as original language text, you can probably find like a Westcott and Hort Greek New Testament, which is a little over 100 years old, but it's decent. You'll find a lot of Textus Receptus kind of stuff. That if you're King James only, I suppose that's enough. But most of the people I hang out with are not. So, um, you're going to be a little bit limited according to what you want to do. Now, if you're just wanting to access translations and so forth, you can find all of the major translations out there. If you don't find them on Bible Gateway, they're at least on the websites from the publishers.
yeah, Antoine, I want to come over to you. You're our mobile first guy and sometimes mobile only guy. Um, Most of the major Bible software producing companies now produce a mobile app that you can run on an Android phone or an iOS, an iPhone or iPad and an Android tablet. Um, but what about some of these devices? Like if someone can't afford one with a lot of storage, maybe the best option for them is to leave it on the internet, where they do have in their handset an always-on internet connection, as long as they're in a decent signal area. What do you think? Do you think using online websites for Bible study is a better option in the mobile space?
Yeah, totally. That's an excellent option. The difference between using a dedicated app and using a website boils down to how well you can designate well, I say designate, but how well you can search. If you don't know how to search properly, bad word. If you don't know how to search good, then you're going to always find the worst resources first. Search engines are good, but they're not great. But they work as good as the person is searching them. And so when you're using a mobile device, it makes the best amount of sense for you to be search first, and then rely on your commentaries, rely on your periodicals and things of that sort afterwards. There's several folks, the Digital Bible Society, for example, offers a very, very well done downloadable Bible, all HTML that can sit on any device. It actually sits on the top of a Nokia device, 3300, which is, that's about as small a device as you need or want to do a Bible study with. And then you have, some more expansive software suites or even some APIs available for some Bible publishers, so you can do a little bit more. But generally, yeah, for mobile, can you do a Bible study on there? I mean, can you preach from there? Can you set up a sermon? Totally. I do it all the time. And the limitation isn't really that device or the input panel. The limitation is what publishers make available. If the publisher didn't make it available, then you're not going to have it.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is, for a while for me, this was driven by my desire to try to go Chromebook. I'm sitting here right here with there's my trusty Acer Chromebook. Here's the thing: this Acer Chromebook has been sitting here next to my desk for, I don't think I've opened it since before Christmas. And see, that's the thing, is that this is the first time I've opened it. It's dead, obviously, because it's not even starting up. And I was a heavy Chromebook user, and yet I've kind of given up on it just because, I don't know, I think that the Chromebook is a great tool for certain things, but it's not a great tool for Bible study, and I think this is the reason. And so my opinion is, right now, for the kind of Bible study that I want to do, online isn't there yet. Now, if you're doing simple stuff, I think it's really good. I think there's a couple of online sites that handle the library issue, because they're behind a paywall, so to speak, and that you have to already have an account with those companies. And we'll look at the different sites here in just a minute. And so you've already got a large library if you own those software programs that you would install on your Windows computer or your Mac. And so they give you access to it on the website because you've already paid for it. I'm not sure, Rick, you may know better about the rights that publishers are willing to give. Are they willing to give it with the installed offline? Does that mean they'll also likely give it to you behind a paywall online? Do you know anything about that coming from your side? I know Cordance doesn't have it online right now.
Yeah, from what I gather, um, uh, publishers are more willing to do that if they're assured that it's only the licensed user who's going to be accessing it. But for instance, if you were to compare the, for I don't know about word search, but I know for Logos, if you were to compare the number of books you have in your Logos library on your computer and compare that to what you can get at biblia.com, it's usually a smaller number there, and that's because there are certain publishers that haven't licensed that. However, that number, the gap between those two numbers has gotten smaller in recent years because, with assurances that it's not going to be out there for everyone, because that's the biggest fear of publishers is that people are going to use their stuff without paying for it. But I think you're seeing a more relaxed attitude toward that.
Yeah, I've told you all many times that Logos is sort of my go-to just because I have such a huge library, and I wasn't planning to talk about the installed version of Logos, so I'm booting it. It takes a while to load, just
Go get a cup of coffee.
frankly. But I'm looking at the Logos's web app, which again, it's behind a paywall. You can't access this for free. You have to be a Logos customer who's purchased the Logos Now or Logos Cloud subscription service, and it shows that I've got available 4,156 books in my Logos library. I don't think that's a lot less than what I have in my installed version, but I will show you something. Just right here on the very front page, notice down here at the bottom, Biblia Hebraica transcripts not available. So that tells you right off the bat that there's at least something that I can't use online. I don't see too many more. Now, if I look at my Logos library, which finally just opened, I see I've got it's really dragging because everything slows down when I'm using this machine to stream. I've got 4205 in my installed version and 4156. So like you said, that gap has gotten much smaller.
Right.
It's not that big. In fact, 51 titles that are not available. So it's pretty good. Well, I think we'd all sort of agree that you can do some. Maybe you can't do the best or the most powerful.
Well,
But
let me throw something out there.
okay.
Yeah, because what's really interesting, a good friend of mine, a gentleman who used to be the IT and theologian guy at Dallas Theological Seminary, John Dyer, actually built a web app because his students actually had a problem with trying to afford the Logos and Concordance, etc. So they actually built Bible web app as a means for students to get some rudimentary study tools, and the tools weren't just created, just so that it exists in a web browser. But as you can see, you got it pulled up here, Kevin. They actually got the licensing for the students who are at that school, and then later on, the licensing open for everybody for a lot of texts that, ordinarily speaking, you would need an application for. And that package by itself was really good for Dallas Theological. John, of course, ends up open source that for everyone. But then that went into the Digital Bible Society, which actually packaged a few foreign language applications for folks who don't speak English. They actually packaged a whole Bible app, web app, for those groups as well. So, those that's an option as well. There's a few open source options out there. I've built one. John's built a few for those folks who might have the web as an option, and need something a little bit more robust.
Well, what's interesting though is that the Dallas Theological must not be using that for everyone though, because they require their students to buy Logos.
Yes, that was John's fight.
Yeah.
So you can require students to buy something, but you can't pay for it. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, and also notice though, like under Greek texts, like Rick said earlier, they don't have the NA28 available. I mean, you get SBL Greek and Septuagint and Tischendorf's 8th edition, Westcott and Hort. In Hebrew, you get the BHS and Westminster, but there's nothing. You don't get
There's nothing you could use to turn into a paper at most master's level seminary.
right. That's the thing we're getting at is the advanced level. Basic level, yeah, you can do fine. If you're just a Sunday school teacher who likes to go further than the Sunday school quarterly to do your Bible study, which I hope Sunday school teachers are doing. I hope they're going more than just reading the quarterly's teacher's guide. I hope they spend a little bit more time. And if you have some skill in language study, you can get stuff done here. But it's just not going to be the same as what you can get in, say, something like Accordance, which really excels in language study, or Logos, which does a pretty good job, or BibleWorks, which is on the Windows side is one of the best language study tools. And then also commentaries. Let's see here. What's available as far as commentaries go? See that, and you get Matthew Henry, and
Yeah, these are all public domain.
we don't even get some of the more.
He built an API. Yeah, no, that's like I said, John built an API for that. The stuff with Dallas Theological was a little bit more comprehensive.
But this is one app. I've never seen this. It looks like a nice app. It's very well built. It's quick and
it runs
fast.
It runs really, really well on Chromebook.
Yeah, and so it's a nice option. Really so BibleWebApp.com. We'll have to make sure we put that in the show notes. So that's one option. Let's look at a few others though. I did a post over almost a year ago, not quite a year ago. The 6 best online Bible study sites. I picked 6. I originally picked 5, and then I decided to do this in a 2-parter, and so I found a 6th one just so I could do an even 3 and 3. But my point of it was, hey, if you've got a Chromebook, or at the time I was also using an HP Stream 13, which is one of these. It's kind of like a Netbook 2.0, the very low-powered Windows computer that has 2 gigs of RAM and maybe 64 or 32 gigs of storage on it. If you try to install Logos or Word Search or Accordance or PC or one of these other, it's going to just gobble up your drive. And in fact, I couldn't install Logos on my HP Stream. I tried to put it on the SD card, and it just makes it so slow. It's terrible. But at the time, I didn't try to install Accordance on it, because I hadn't really built my library up that big yet. But anyway, so I went out and I searched online Bible. I knew of a number of them, but I think I went through about 20 of them, and I narrowed it down to what I considered at that time the 5 or 6, the 6 best. And the first one I saw this was Bible Study Tools. Are either of you familiar with this one?
I'm not.
Antoine, you're nodding your head. You are? Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and open up the original. I liked this, but it's, again, very simple. And so, but it had a nice layout to it. You get the verse of the day and my Bible. And here, they've got, public domain commentaries. You can do some more. Let's see here. It's been a while since I've looked at this, and so I don't use it on a regular basis. Where was the more? Here we go. So you see it's got a few more than just what was listed in that list, but again, they're all pretty much public domain commentaries. So that's one of the nice sites. We'll look at another here is it has an interlinear Bible, which I liked. And if you go to Theotek.com and just search for online Bible study, you'll see these, and I'll make links when we post the show notes on Theotek.com. But Bible Study Tools, I've got a nice video demonstration of all of these sites that I did. One of my favorites, actually, I hadn't used it before I did this search last year, was Bible Hub. Are either of you again familiar with Bible Hub?
Yeah, I've seen it, just not used it extensively.
Okay, and it's again it's got a lot of the newer translations as well as the public domain, um, and then commentaries. If you're looking for some commentaries, again a lot of them are public domain commentaries here. They have a decent interlinear Bible so that you can do a little bit of original language study with it. So that's another option. Let's see here. The third one was Biblia.com, which is Logos's free public version. I mentioned to you the Logos web app earlier that you have to pay for, but you can use Biblia.com for free, and you get a little bit, not a lot. But if you also have a Logos base package, then you'll have a lot more stuff. If you sign in up here with your ID, you'll be able to use a lot of the books that you can install on your computer. You can use online with this. Now, it's really basically just a Bible reader and commentary reader. It's a book reader. It shows you can do two side by side. Excuse me. You can do stuff side by side here. Let's see. What am I? There we go. So you can just like you would in Logos, you can link the panels, and of course it's not doing it because I picked the wrong book here. But supposedly these are linked. There we go.
I think you have to tell them. You have to tell it to link.
Yeah, I did. It's finally moving. It's just not as
okay.
fast as I'm used to. But notice it goes to John 2:25, and then this side moves over.
Yeah, Biblia is not really a really fast website anymore.
No, it's like Logos on your computer. It's just not. It's a little bit slower.
Yeah, they haven't really put as much work into it. The API really was a lot better proponent for that. I really wish Logos would have pushed
Yeah, Biblia. I get the feeling Biblia is. We've got it, but we're putting all our time into the web app where we can get some money from it. If people aren't familiar, Logos is probably the biggest Bible software company as far as the number of employees, but they've had a series of layoffs in the last few months, which sort of signals that maybe they're, I don't know that I would say that they're in trouble. They're not going to go out of business anytime soon, but they're probably not going to be doing as much like this where they're giving stuff away for free. If they're having trouble paying all their employees, they're probably going to try to do more to get some money out of their customers. And so but it's still, if you can use this for free, I'm not signed in at all. And look at, here are the translations that I've got available to me. I can use the English Standard Version, New Century, New International, New Living Translation. As far as, let's see here, do they have more than just Bibles? Yeah, Bibles and other, and this is all you get in the other category. So.
And one of those is a Bible.
What's that?
And one of those is a Bible.
Right. So you're not going to get a lot for free here. But with Logos, if you sign up for an account, you get a little bit more than this. Even if you don't pay for it, you will get a little bit more for free. And then of course it's got basic search functions, and so it's not bad. It's okay for what it is. At the time, I called these three of the 6 best. I would not even put Biblia on the list anymore because of the Logos web app. So let me show you the Logos web app. Looks a lot like Logos, except that a lot of it's not yet done. But here I've got the English Standard Version open, and I've got the Exegetical Dictionary of the New Testament open. Let's open up a commentary. New American. All right, I'm going to drag this over here. So we've got Nehemiah open, and let's see here. He's synced up here. I can't remember how to sync the web app. Do you remember how to do that? Have you used this before, Rick? I can't remember how to do it.
Briefly,
Anyway, it's
but
not
I'm
that
not
important.
going. Yeah, I'm not going to.
But so I have the New American Commentary in my library, and I'm signed in, so you can see that I can use this. Now for tools, it's got the atlas, the fact book, and the text comparison tool, um, which is a fairly nice tool. Let's run that. Right now I've got ESV and HCSB running as a text comparison tool. The guides, it's got the passage guide. So let's do a passage guide on Nehemiah 1:1. And what it does, it brings up these pericopes that you can pick from, verses 1 to 3. And it'll run a passage guide. It's going to take a little while, but it gives you all the commentaries that you have available to you. It gives you topics that are available in that passage, some cross-references that relate to that passage. These are the interesting words you can find in it. You can do some word study on each of these words. And it's the passage guide that really sold me on Logos, and now I almost never use it, strangely enough. But literary typing, parallel passages, if it has any, there aren't any results. Any media resources. Now this is different than what you'll find in the offline version, but it's still pretty good. Again, for an online resource, this is excellent. And Logos's promise was, hey, within about a year or two, we're going to try to have everything that we've got on Logos on this. I don't think they're going to make it because it's slowed way down the amount of work that they've done on it. You're not getting a lot. But the primary guides that you would use, an exegetical guide is mainly for language study. A word study is for topical studies. A sermon starter guide is kind of like the passage guide and the exegetical guide put together with a little bit of more emphasis on sermon stuff. The documents, there's nothing there. Layouts, you can't change your layouts. The home page, there's nothing. And so if you're familiar with Logos, you know how much this is missing. I would replace Biblia.com in my article here with the Logos web app now. I actually think if you're a Logos customer, I think this is your best option right now for serious online Bible study. But again, it's lacking compared to what you get with the offline version of it. Any thoughts from either?
In general, it wouldn't. I would think that probably, we can go a decade out or something like this. I think that we'll be more dependent upon being connected to the internet than we are now. That's where things are going. My difficulty is that I still get in places where I can't get good internet. But I have no doubt that this is where things will be, in the long run. But right now it's painful. I mean even with Antoine's struggles, with internet right now, in his new apartment, it's just not as ubiquitous as we'd like it to be. Now, there's places like New York where they're putting it on every corner, in New York City, and you're going to be in some places where that's going to be great, but in other places it's just not yet.
Well, I should clarify. I mean, I have internet everywhere I go. I've got 2 devices and 2 lines, so I have internet everywhere. What I don't have is video bandwidth style internet everywhere.
Right, well, right.
Which is different. For when you're studying, you don't need video bandwidth. You need really the basics. You need 56K to be blunt, and some efficient coding. But if internet was a little bit more ubiquitous, yeah, you could definitely say make the call. But like Logos, like Accordance, and a few others, everybody's going to these hybrid models where there's an application front end or a decent web front end, that's able to exist offline while the data gets pulled while you're online, so that you can do some of the things that you need to do. That's the route of the near future, and at least until ubiquity is the norm, or somebody forces that hand. In some cases, that's going to be the case. What I'm interested in seeing though is the folks that are building Bible and sermon prep applications on top of Facebook Messenger and WeChat. That's the future that I'm looking forward to, because that's a lot more interactive, a little less centered on I did the study and more centered on we did the study, which should be pretty interesting going forward.
Well, let me show you these other three that I've put on the second part of this study, just real quickly. I don't want to spend a lot of time on them, but the first one was the Blue Letter Bible, and I'm going to hit play and then mute this demonstration of it. But you know, it's a decent online site. You know, I think it has some modern language. Bible texts, and I liked the way the interface of it and the way it displays the information. The second one was Lumina. Are you guys familiar with Lumina? Yeah. You know, it's an offline program for a while, and I think wasn't this the forerunner of what's the package out now that replaced this? I can't remember, but Bible.org is who. Is the parent organization behind Lumina, and it's more media. You know, it's prettier, I guess, is maybe the way to put it, and it's more media centric than it is Bible study centric. If I'm thinking of the right package here, maybe I'm confusing it with somebody else. I'm confusing it with a different program. It's been almost a year since I used this.
I would say Bible.org certainly has a tremendous amount of content. And that one also has Dallas theological roots to it.
That's right. I'm confusing this with Illumina. That name is what confused me. Yeah, this is the Bible.org group, and so there's lots of content related to your text. So, and I think they tie it nicely, if I remember correctly, to the text, so you can find things related to it.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good tool. I like that one a lot. Now, Bible Study, mybiblestudy.com, as you can see, I wrote, you know, a year ago that this was my pick. I wouldn't pick this now, and that's the reason is this has essentially been replaced. You can still use it. It's still here. Well, no, now they've totally shut it down, and they say go over here to my study Bible, which I will do. I've already logged in. This is Word Search online, essentially, and while it's not as good as Word Search, the offline version of Word Search, this is what I think Word Search and Lifeway is putting most of their eggs in this basket.
Yeah, they are.
Forward. This is what they intend to be their primary product in the future. How soon in the future, I don't know. But notice how you hit the open and it doesn't leave the library. It's assuming that you're going to want to open multiple things. And so you can do that and then go over here to the reader, which I kind of like that because I'm often going to look at multiple things instead of, you know, opening more than one. And so, you know, here we are in English Standard Version and the Holman Christian Standard Version, so I can compare. We were looking at Nehemiah 1:1 earlier, and I guess they're not linked up right now. And again, I don't remember how to do it because I don't use this very often. Since this tells you how, you know, we're talking about using it offline, and yet we're not using it offline very much because I don't remember how to use it offline all that often. But you get the idea of it. So my pick would be, if you're a word search user, go to mywordsearchbible.com. If you're a Logos user, go to the Logos web app. If you are customers of neither one, tell me, Rick, what do you think? Where would you send them?
You know, looking strictly for the web, I like Bible.org that you had up there a moment ago because there's so much content there, and I've always been a fan of the Net Bible, especially its notes. That's a Bible library in and of itself. So I think there's a lot you could do with that.
Okay, and Bible Gateway, I didn't include this because I personally find it a little limiting. And I thought the other ones were a little bit better, but it's a popular one. A lot of people
Yeah, a lot of people use that.
Bible Gateway, so it's one worth looking at. What do you think, Antoine? Do you have a recommendation you would give? Maybe this the one you mentioned, the Bible web app.
I definitely would recommend the Bible web app. If you're going to be disconnected more than you're connected, I would recommend something we talked about before, BibleBox.org.
Say that again.
BibleBox.org. We talked about them with the mobile hotspot feature some episodes ago, but the downloadables for that hotspot they make available free. So if you need an offline Bible and some study materials, they do make some of that stuff available, and it's worth it, So that you say to install files and library files. So you have an option, to actually just download and sit it on your own machine, sit it on an SD card, stack it on a server, a home server, and have some fun with it.
Okay. One of the things we want to mention to you is the YouVersion Bible app. Rick and I were talking before the show. They just came out with these stats that the YouVersion Bible app itself has been downloaded and installed 200 million times. Now, I think I've done about 230,000 of those just myself, but I'm kidding about that. But so I don't know if these are unique installs that they're counting.
Yeah, those are
like
unique.
My account, they're counting me as one, or are they counting me as 70, because I've probably reinstalled it over and over again on multiple devices and multiple times on a device.
Well, Kevin, they count unique installs for that number.
So that's just for my account. That's 200 million.
No, that's 200 million unique installs. It's not per account. It's just per install. The number of concurrent users that they have, the number of active users that they have, is somewhere between 110 and 120 million folks that they have that currently use the app. So there's 120 million accounts that from various devices that are using the app on what they deem as a regular basis, which is one time every 90 days.
Well, looking at these numbers, though, that is pretty remarkable for an app to be installed this many times. It makes it one of the most installed apps of all kind at all time, right?
Without a doubt.
It'll put it on the list even if it's not at the top. So, 1,200 Bible versions. Here's the
well.
growth chart.
What's key to remember is that the first thing, one of the first classes of applications that people look for when they get a new device or they move to a new platform, they look for their favorite game and they look for a Bible. Those are the top two things all of the time that folks look for, and that's across the world. That's what folks tend to look for. So if you have it available for folks, especially if you have it in non-English sources, they're going to go for it. And Bible.com/YouVersion has been really good at making sure non-English folks are taken care of. And it's easy to get a couple 100 million downloads when you pay attention to the people that really need to use it.
And of course, remember, we've been talking about the gaudy numbers for their app, but this is another online Bible site. You don't have to install anything. You can open this up by going to Bible.com, and I'm trying to change my translation here. Why isn't that working? Shouldn't that... It's just a frozen page, that's why.
There it came up.
Yeah.
See, that just demonstrated why I prefer having dedicated apps.
I think this is because of this computer often will bog down while I'm doing video streaming. If I wasn't, it probably wouldn't have the same problem. But so we'll go back to our passage we were looking at for everything else, just to show you what it's like to move to a. Again, it's really dragging now. Maybe if we do it this way. No. There we go. Working a lot faster that way. But with this app, it's you can select the content and
Well, one of the things to make clear there,
you have to be signed in to do most of what you have to do. But
YouVersion is actually rewriting Bible.com's backend. So they've got a lot going on with that. They recently took over the domain, and they're like rewriting the core of the core of the Bible app and the web app. So it's really interesting what is happening back there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think this is, and when people come to me and say, what Bible app should I get? My first question is, do you just want to read the Bible, or do you want to study the Bible, using things like commentaries and such? And if they say, I just want something to read the Bible, search and read the Bible, here's what I recommend every time. Because I just think it's, for the average person, they're going to learn it a lot faster and a lot quicker. But then I'll make certain that I mention, I said, now if you want to go a little more advanced, and then I say, I recommend, the others that I prefer. But so, I think this is a great option for online. And isn't there a way to do, again, I think you have to be signed in to do some of it. Let me sign in and show. But isn't there a way to add notes and highlights and stuff on the online version of it? I know you can do it in the app. I'm signing in. That's why the space. And again, my connection is pretty slow because of where I'm at. Now I can share this again because I've signed in.
We were hoping to see your password.
Were you? You wanted to steal all my stuff?
I'm going to see all your Bible notes.
There you go. It's still loading, as you can see the thing dragging. This is not typical at all of how it normally. There we go. See, this wasn't popping up until I signed in. So now I can highlight, these words if I want to. Maybe. Anyway, we'll ignore it. You get the idea of it. My connection is really dragging. About a month ago, I dropped from a very, very fast connection to a moderately fast connection in order to save some cash. My outgo was bigger than it needed to be, so I did that. So maybe I will want to go back to that. Well, I think we've discussed should you or shouldn't you, and I think at least for two of us, the consensus is, you probably want an offline app and an offline program for your computer if you're going to use one of each. But if you have to, there are some good options. I think. Would you agree? Would you guys agree with me? There are now some good options that you can use, and they're adequate to get the job done in a pinch. Or even, Antoine, you may say it's the best option. What do you? Am I right about that or not?
The best option is the one that you have in your hand right now. So,
that's true.
Yeah, obviously. But let's say I've got the time to decide what I'm going to have in my hand.
Well,
And what would you say as the mobile first guy? What's the best option?
Best option? Gosh.
To do serious Bible study with an electronic device.
Very expensive gift card to the Logos and Amazon Kindle stores and Evernote.
Okay. All right. So you're essentially saying to subscribe to one of these two, Logos is one you mentioned.
Yeah, if you want to have, if you need the commentary and the materials, and you can't get them in any other way, find somebody whose library that you like and that you need to have access to, and jump in and have access. We're talking about mobile. Doing things not mobile or not web. We're really talking about access. So whatever's the easiest way for you to get access and the best access so that you can preach the clearest, cleanest message possible, get that access. And however way you pull it together is going to be on you. I like simpler solutions than some of the Bible apps out there. To the chagrin of just about one of our Bible app loving audience friends, but it's I think most pastors have a good sense of how to put notes together and how to set up their own notes. So find your favorite notepad, get access to whatever library that you need to do the materials, and kind of go from there.
Okay. What would your recommendation be, Rick? If you had to go online, what would you pick?
Well, if you have to go online, yeah, I don't know. You see, it's still hard for me. Because I'm still wanting to lean toward toward a dedicated app because the thing about it is and I'll plug Accordance here, but I remember I was an Accordance user before I worked for them, and I've got all these programs. You can download for free the Accordance app. It comes with the ESV Strongs, with the Greek and Hebrew dictionaries. You can take notes on it. You can, once you register, you get a larger library. You basically get what's called the mobile starter. It's all for free, and you've got that with you at all times. Just some basic commentaries, and sure, some of them are public domain like that, but you've got them regardless of what your internet situation is at the moment. So you need internet long enough to download it, but then you can have it right there. And to me it's hard to see any of these online services beating that. Even if it was one of the other companies' apps, it's hard for me to see online stuff beating that at this time.
What about? So I'm going to ask you a question that I know the answer to, but all right, how do I get on my Accordance app on this?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my only
Yeah.
my only thing is there are a growing number of people. The numbers I think are growing less now than it was a year ago, but there still are a growing number of people who are going with Chromebooks because they're cheap,
Yeah.
they're simple, easy to use, safe because you don't get. I mean, you essentially just don't get viruses on a Chromebook.
Well, tell me something. I haven't had a Chromebook in 2 years. I got one just to kind of check them out, but correct me if I'm wrong. You can now run Android apps in Chrome. Is that correct?
You cannot yet run a decent Bible app.
Okay.
Not a Bible app, but you can run Android apps in there.
Not
Honestly,
very many. Not very many.
I run Chrome OS for doing UI UX work
Well,
professionally, and so it's powerful enough to run most of the web apps that we've shown tonight very competently. Bible web app and uversions Bible.com both actually can run offline for a few things. So you have some flexibility there.
Yeah, the question I was asking him, Antoine, though, was I was trying to nail him down on an online app, and he instead pivoted and being the dutiful Accordance employee, he said, "Go to get Accordance anyway."
Well, no, okay, and what I was going to say, even with that, if Chrome will run Android apps, we'll eventually be there. But again, I'm going to go back to Bible.org, if or something like that, if I don't have any kind of access to, to a dedicated app.
Which is what we were showing you when I mentioned the Lumina
Right.
app, which is
I would use something like that because of all the materials that they have there.
And here
I could live there if I had to.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on what you were saying. What was that again?
Well, I said I could live there if I had to. I mean, and unfortunately I don't have to. But I mean, I like the stuff that's there.
Yeah, and so if you use this little drop down here, and you go to Bible.org, you can find it by using that, and that brings up the Lumina version, which again is very good and a lot better than I remember it being. I think
they've continued to improve it
since last year. So this might jump up in my. I think I would probably now. Here's how I would recommend it going forward. I would say, like I said before, if you're a word search customer, get my word search Bible, mywsb.com. If you're a Logos customer, then consider. Don't jump, but consider Logos Now. But notice this right here. Even if you have a base package, even if you have the most expensive package on Logos, they're still going to deduct $9 a month from your account in order to use this Logos web app.
They will allow you to pay to beta test their new features.
Well, that you can say it that way. I would say they're allowing you to pay to get the new features earlier than waiting for them to come out with Logos 7. Essentially it's the same thing with a different perspective. But what if you're wanting the Logos web app, there's one of two ways of getting
Yeah.
it. Logos Now, okay, or the other option that they offer is, I think they've got a link here on the front. If they don't, we'll find it, but I don't see it now. But Logos Cloud, which is kind of two things that are sort of the same. Logos Cloud is basically giving you a subscription to a large library of resources that you'll lose the minute you quit paying.
Right.
Or you can just take what you already own in your package, add $9 a month, and get the Logos Now subscription. If you don't want to do either one of those, you can settle for Biblia. And they've actually got like 5 or 6 of these now that I think about it, because they have library.logos.com, and it's muddled. They need to streamline, I think. But anyway, if you're willing to pay that extra $9 a month, you can do that. Now, let's say you don't have word search, you don't have Logos, or you're not willing to do $9 a month to do Logos Now. Then this is probably your best option right here for online. I think Rick and I both are agreeing with that as far as doing that. Now, let me give you another option this is the option for the small device, like a Chrome, not a Chromebook, but a Windows computer that has very little storage. You can't get your word search or your Accordance, your BibleWorks, your Logos, PC Study, whatever Bible package you've got, if you've got a big library, and you can't get it on your meager little 16 gigabyte or 32 gigabyte hard drive device that you're running Windows, or iPad or Android, this Parallels Access is a really great tool. Now again, it's a subscription, but it's only $20 a year. But the thing that this does for you is it kind of like is the iOSification of remote control software. And what I mean by that is, notice if you're running it on a Samsung Galaxy tablet or on an iPad, they put all of your Windows or Mac apps in the grid form like you get in those programs. You tap on it, and it pops up on the screen as if you're running an app, but it's actually running on your home desktop system or your laptop system that you've got turned on and connected to an internet either at home or at work. And I've used it. It's very speedy. That's not the right word. It's not speedy. It's very efficient, and it's fast enough to not pull your hair out while you're using it.
Does that work on Mac and Windows both?
The apps, let's see. I don't.
I asked because I'm
wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, they do work on Mac and Windows.
I've got a server that's a Mac server, and it'd be interesting to put that on there.
Well, here's what it does. Here's what you do is you run a client. Like I could launch. I don't know if I've got it installed on this computer or not, because I've sort of quit using it, just because the only time I was using it was to access Logos and such. But and Accordance and others, my full library of my programs. But what you do is you'll install a client on a server-side program that will run on your computer, your full computer that has whatever software you want to access. So like on this Mac, I would install it and it would run up in the menu bar, and then I would install the app on my iPad or on my Android phone, and the iPad or Android app would, through the internet, communicate with the little program running on my home desktop or laptop system and give me access to the software that's installed on that home or office desktop or laptop system. So it's remote control software, but it's designed in such a way that it makes it presents it to you as if you're running apps on your tablet or phone. And it works very, very well. It's well worth the $20 a year to do so if you want to do that kind of remote control.
I'd be interested in trying that. Do they have a free trial?
Honestly, I don't think so. It's cheap, like I said,
Yeah,
for
sure.
$20, and if you want to buy it, if you buy it for the first year and think, yeah, this is great, you can save yourself
There's a big blue
$5
button
per
at the
month.
top of the page there that says try for free.
What's that?
There's a blue button at the top of the page that says try
Yeah,
for free.
there you go.
And there's that little text up there that says get started on your free trial.
Yeah, I need to put it on my server and see if I could access my server.
Isn't that funny how I totally missed that? Shows how observant I am. I'm less visually observant than most. But
if you're mentioning parallels, I think Wes, if he was here, he would mention building his own server instance on own cloud of the Bible files that he would need, or the commentaries and what have you. So that, that could actually be an option for some folks if they want to stand up their own home server.
And there are free
run
versions.
media content from there.
There are free options that are similar to this, but I just don't think they present it in as beautiful and efficient a manner as Parallels Access does. I've tried almost all of these. I actually pay for an annual subscription to Splashtop because I think that's one of the best. And the only reason I don't pay for Parallels is just full disclosure. I was given a free subscription to review it. But the minute the free subscription runs out, I will cancel the Splashtop and pay for Parallels going forward at that point. In fact, if you want to read my review, I think it's at gotomemobile.com. Just search for Parallels Access in my name, and you'll be able to see it.
Did you just say Splashtop?
Splashtop?
The old Palm OS company that made everything from report engines to remote access stuff?
I don't know anything about an old Palm OS Splashtop. I didn't ever do such a thing, but this is Splashtop.
Wow.
You install something called a streamer, and you install the streamer app on your Windows or Mac computer, and then you install the app on your other device, or you can remotely control a computer from a Mac, Windows. See here, there's all the list: Windows XP up through 10, a modern UI version, even Windows Phone, Mac, iPad, iPhone, Android, Kindle Fire, Ubuntu. Now the streamer only works on Windows, Mac, and Ubuntu, but that's would you need any other one? I can't think of a significant operating system that runs on a computer other than those three, right? Remix, maybe they need to come out with a remix version. Anyway, this is a good program, but you got to pay for it, and the only reason I still pay for it is I forgot to turn off automatic renewal last November, so I've got it again till next November. But that's another option for running full Bible software in a remote way through online. If you don't,
I'm going to try it out.
Pardon me?
I'm going to try it out.
Yeah, I think it's a good option. Well, we don't have a whole lot of time. Anybody got a quick My Favorite Thing? We do this now called My Favorite Things, where we give you a quick recommendation / review. It might take us a minute or two to recommend and review it for you. So go ahead, Antoine. You said you had one?
Yeah, today is Fat Tuesday, a.k.a. tomorrow is the beginning of Lent for those who are celebrating that side of the Christian tradition. And so for my favorite thing, I actually wanted to just recommend that folks will go out and find a good Lent application. Whether you're fasting for Lent or you're just observing prayers or you're going to do Stations of the Cross, over at Mobile Ministry Magazine, I've got a list of a few applications out there, some of which are still being supported, but there's certainly plenty others out there. But that's kind of my favorite things for today, as I'm trying to remember again what I should not be eating, at least until Friday, for the next 40 days.
Okay, so you're saying an application that would do what? What would be the? Again, let me tell you why I'm asking that question.
Sure.
I'm a Baptist from an evangelical perspective, and we are totally clueless about the Lenten season. Now I know what it is, but I'm asking it because I know a lot of people don't know what it is. So what would you need an app to do this for?
It's not what would you need an app for, but
What
just
would you want?
everything has been digitized. Lent, Advent, Sabbath and sabbaticals, etc. But I found about a half a dozen years ago some folks who were building Lenten applications to help folks either walk through the Stations of the Cross when they would go to Mass or service with their churches, all the way to helping them with whatever they chose to give up for Lent. So if they chose to give up TV watching, be like a status timer, or if they just wanted to add more prayers into their time, that's something that they would have. And so as you got shown up on the screen there at mobileministrymagazine.com, towards the bottom of that page there's a few Lenten applications that were pretty good when I put them there. So like I said, some of which are still supported to at least help those folks who would like to add a digital face to their Lenten activities.
Okay, so go here to mobileministrymagazine.com, and the way I found this is I went to Bible apps and Lent apps right there. So that gives you the option. Okay. How about you, Rick? Have you got something?
Yeah, I've got one here. I got this in. Actually, it came in December, but this is from Hypershop. Hypershop.com. This is the Hyperdrive that has a Type-C connector right here, and so if you have a MacBook, the 2015 MacBook, not the Pro, not the Air, and then there's a couple of other. Trying to think, there's like a Chromebook that uses only Type-C, and maybe another device or two, but in it has two USB 3.0 ports. It's got a micro SD and an SD port, and then it's got pass-throughs for charging. I think that's the big deal. A lot of these have come out that didn't have any kind of charging, and I would never even use one, because the more things you're plugging in, the more power you're going to draw anyway. But it's funny. I got this in December, and then but didn't use it until January. And the first time I tried to use it, I don't know why, but it didn't work. And so I thought, well, this is just a piece of junk. Maybe I'll get my money back. But then today, I was needing to record video off of my iPad, and so I thought, well, I can unplug some of the stuff that I've got in my hub that's on my server here, or let me try this thing again. And so, I had this plugged into my MacBook, and then I had the iPad plugged into one port, and I had this Yeti mic that I'm using tonight. I had that plugged into the other port, and it came on. It lit up. It worked like a charm. The power was going through it and kept everything charged. In fact, not only did it keep my MacBook charged, it charged up my iPad while it was all going on, and so it's a great little device. I'm going to have it with me now at all times because it does actually work.
All right, and that's Hypershop.
Yeah, Hypershop, and I think they're calling it the Hyperdrive.
Yeah,
yeah, there it is.
Here it is, the Hyperdrive USB Type-C 5-in-1 hub with pass-through.
Great little device. Now my only complaint about it is, it's putting a lot of pressure right there where it plugs in. I think it would have been great if it had some kind of way to clip onto the side there, because, like, occasionally I'll have my MacBook raised up on a stand, and so it makes it a little bit wobbly when you do that. But otherwise, it's a great little device.
Is it better? Have you compared it to the Apple solution that they have offered? They have some sort of hub like this, don't they?
No, Apple doesn't have anything. All that Apple has is a they have their adapters, like for VGA and HDMI, that have an extra USB port on it. But that's the advantage of this is you've got two USB. Now the only other thing I'll say too, my only other maybe criticism of it is, as we move into a USB-C world, it would have been nice to have maybe another USB-C port, because, for instance, I've shown this before. I've got this. I use this all the time to transfer. Like today, I was transferring a 9 GB file between my MacBook and my Acer laptop, and so this has USB on one regular, what is it? Is that B or whatever it is? It's got regular USB over here, and then it's got USB-C on the other side. And so it'd be nice if there was just an extra USB-C port in the hyperdrive.
All right. Well, let me quickly share something. Right now, I'm on a Mac Mini hooked up to just a regular desktop monitor that's 1920 by 1080. But if you happen to have a MacBook with a Retina display, sometimes, they sort of, I don't know what the right term for it is, but they enlarge everything so that you don't get the full use of all the pixels. And the only way to change it, if you go into settings, you go, let's see, displays, and right here it has default for display or scaled, and then it lets you switch between various options. On a MacBook, you won't even see this 1920 by 1080, 16 by 9, 12 by 7. You'll see a slider on your MacBook or your iMac. That's annoying. I want this kind of control, not just the dumb slider. And so there's a little app that you can get for free. It's on GitHub. It's called Disable Monitor. And what it does, puts a little menu bar icon up here, which you hover down over this, and it will show you all of the options that you have for display resolutions. Now, this is the native display resolution of this monitor, but a MacBook, are you on your MacBook right now, Rick?
No, I'm on my Acer.
Are you? Okay.
But I have my MacBook next to me over here.
Do you know what what's the native display resolution on the MacBook? Isn't it like 30 something by?
It's a weird number. I wonder if it's this one that's 2304 by 1440. I mean, it's some weird number that they put on this 2015 MacBook, and I run it at 1440 by 900. But I use SwitchRes X, which is a program similar to what you're showing there, and I can make it go as high as 2880 by 1800.
Yeah, so that's why I like this, because it gives you a finer, more granular control of your resolution. So,
yeah.
In this case, I'm going to leave it on this monitor. I'm always going to leave it at 1920 by 1080. But if I needed to or wanted to, I could drop it down. If I needed to blow things up and make it look larger, I'm not sure what'll happen if I do this while we're
live.
Did that switch and mess things up, or can you still see it?
It just enlarged. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So I could do this now. That's sort of what happens on a MacBook, is that everything looks bigger, but you can't get as much on the screen. For example, if I open up Logos and go to full screen, you just don't see as much. Whereas if I change the resolution here back to the native, see, now it's weird. It's got both options. What's the difference, I wonder?
I don't know.
Anyway, so now I can see more on screen at one time.
I can tell you where I was using this functionality just today, Kevin.
Okay.
I've got my small MacBook with a this has a 12-inch screen, and then I've got, it's actually behind the Acer, I've got a Mac Mini like what you have, and I've got it connected to a 24-inch monitor. It's not an Apple monitor, but I think it's made by Acer. But anyway, what I will do is I will share the screen. So what I can do, I can close my laptop, and then over Wi-Fi I share my screen to the large screen. But if I just do it natively, it's kind of squared. So I actually up it to the 1920 by 1080. It fits in that perfectly, and I'm full screen on that monitor.
Okay.
So I do that all the time. And I use SwitchRes X, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, SwitchRes X costs a little bit, whereas this Disable Monitor does not everything that SwitchRes X does, because it allows for some other things, like you can change it based on the application you're running, and you can also rotate it. If you want to have a monitor that rotates vertically and horizontally, you can do that. Whereas this one is, it just has the simple stuff, but it also lets you lock your screen. But for free, it's no price, and it does the majority of what you can do with either one of these. And so I always like free when I can do free. and I looked at Switch ResX, and I just decided it didn't do enough extra for me to warrant spending, what was it, like $15 or something like that.
I can't remember. Another use that I had for mine all last week while I was on the road. I carry my own projector with me, and I like to use my own projector with my laptop, but sometimes that's not really an option. And so, for instance, when I was at University of Chicago, I used the projector that they had in Swift Hall. But with SwitchResX, or an application like yours there, you can quickly see, most of them will recognize what the device is. So it actually told me the name of the projector, and it listed out all of the different resolutions that it would use. And so, because I was doing the presentation not of PowerPoint or Keynote, which will use just about anything, but because I was using Accordance Bible software, I was able to go in and find the optimum resolution for that projector that would also be compatible with my, with a mirrored screen on my MacBook. And that would not have been as easy to do without a utility like that.
All right. Well, listen, I think this has been a fun one. We've gone over a little bit, as we almost always do. I appreciate you guys being with us. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, please subscribe so you'll know every time that we have a new episode coming up. We're going to be doing these now on Tuesday nights, and hopefully Wes will be back with us. He's been sick tonight, and then the Rosa wasn't able to join either. He's got some family prior engagements, which is always more important than joining us on Theotek, which I'm glad he's doing that. But maybe next week we'll be able to get all of us in at one time. But subscribe on YouTube, on iTunes, or Stitcher Radio if you just want the audio. And as always, go to theotek.com. Theotek News is our Twitter app. And if you go to theotek.com, you'll find out where you can find everybody on the team in their various places and spots. They are always posting good stuff online in different locations. And so thanks for joining us. This has been the Theotek Podcast tonight. I'm Kevin Purcell, and we are signing off. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.